Hey, it's Christine, owner and co founder of PrettySpirits.com, your favorite online metaphysical shop. On this channel, we talk all things spirituality, manifestation, and entrepreneurship. And in today's episode, I want to talk about why I started a spiritual business and let you know that anyone who's thinking about entrepreneurship or specifically starting a spiritual business, you can too. But you have to have a deeper why around it, and that's what I'll share with you today. So on this list, I have 7 things that I wrote down on my notebook. So if you see me glancing down, I'm just checking for my notes here. But I want to start off with number 1. Number 1, I wanted a deeper connection to what I was doing day in and day out for money. I didn't want my work to just be something I had to wake up for, I had to set my alarm for, because it felt like I was dragging myself away from my joy and towards someone else's desire, someone else's command. I just did not love that type of control within my life. I've always been that way. I've been very, very rebellious and very different. And I like to do things that aren't always so boxed in or predictable. So for me, entrepreneurship was something that definitely caught my attention when I became older and learned more about it towards the end of college. But when you major in something, I majored in journalism. My concentration was advertising. And when you major in something, it's really easy to put that pressure on yourself to find a very specific career that is in alignment with what you have studied. That is what's ingrained in you, and you want to maybe people please. For me, it was people pleasing those that expected high standards of me. So my family, wanting to really make sure that I was walking in this line of being responsible and being thoughtful about my future. And I thought that by staying that course, I was, checking off being a success, but it wasn't fulfilling. So after finding several careers that, yes, had great points, but ultimately after a while, they would start to drain me, because when you aren't in alignment with your highest joy or your truest authentic self, you will feel pulled in different directions, and that equals low energy. So you won't feel as optimal or as energized or inspired as you normally would if you were doing something that was from your heart. So I wanted a deeper connection to what I was doing, instead of just doing it on the surface level of this being a great company to work for or the salary being good. I wanted to have this value of giving back, of expressing my voice, of being very unique, authentic, forward thinking, expansive. There were all these terms that really meant something to me as I grew spiritually, and I wanted to teach others how to express that themselves. Number 2, creative flexibility. I really, really needed. I was always someone who didn't understand that I was so creative. I understood that I liked to do things that weren't always so analytical. I liked to write. I liked to draw. Wasn't that great at it, but it was something I really enjoyed doing. And then the older I got, I realized I am, a maker. I like to make things with my hands, whether that's candles or just having the intrigue of watching transformation and building something. I enjoy those experiences. So I knew that being in a job that was very traditional or very one track, I would eventually want to expand and do something different and have that ability to bring my creative voice into play, but also to just be flexible where one day I'm experiencing my career in this way. And the next day, maybe I'm focused on more parts that feed a different part of myself. So instead of coming to work and having a very predictable schedule, order of events, I wanted to make sure that my path forward within my purpose, within my career, allow for me to shift from one thing to another, because I understand how my attention span works. So making sure that you are really self-aware when you're venturing out and figuring out what really means something to you, whether that's starting a business or finding a new career path. I knew that creative flexibility was important to me because I, as a person, wanted to always be feeling like I was growing in different ways and exploring different parts of myself. So, if this is something important to you, I definitely encourage you to see what type of business could suit you or different career path that could support your curiosity a bit more, because when you're in that place of freedom, there's just nothing like it. The amount of joy that you feel is truly, truly wonderful. Going into number 3, I wanted to add value to the world, but in a way that felt organic to me. So I love that, all of these different jobs, career paths, purposes out here, they're different ways of feeding, the human population in general. So adding value to the world does not have to look one traditional way. It doesn't mean you have to be a doctor. It doesn't mean you have to, put your life on the line and be a firefighter, or these things that we're taught when we grow up, these very specific roles to add the best value to the world. It can come in all ways. So again, this goes back to that inner conversation that you have, that self-awareness that you have. I wanted to add value to the world in a way that was organic to me. And I knew that spirituality was something very important to me. I'd always been a very intuitive child. I grew up being interested in so many different themes that were not just traditional, though I was raised Christian. So I loved really exploring the unknown, metaphysics, the esoteric, and understanding that there is more than one way to achieve peace, inner harmony, love, etc. And through studying all of these things, I wanted to be able to empower others to learn that they can find their own path. And then when I dove deeper and realized I had intuitive gifts that were even deeper, like psychic awareness, I was able to harness that and create a business around tarot and oracle, and being able to help people with all matters of love and finances, family matters, really trying to find themselves. I was able to act as that sounding board and be a person to hold space for others on some very, very sensitive topics. And so many clients express that without that ear, without my intuition, my perception of how the matter was really playing out, they wouldn't have found empowerment as fast. So I really took the feedback that I was getting in my early days of my spiritual business and understood that I had something here. And the more that I could harness my gift, the more that I could put myself out there, be vulnerable, share my story with others, and really encourage the fact that depression, anxiety, all of these things that we face, you don't have to go at it alone. And somewhere in the world, there is someone that wants to help you, coach you, support you, encourage you, cheer for you. So I knew that that was an organic path for me, was coaching, psychic readings, and then would turn into Pretty Spirits, which is me selling also things that I create with my business partner, Lauren, that tie into the teachings that I share. So I love crystal healing. I love being able to clear energy and ground self through sage and Palo Santo, etc. So being able to sell the things that I was always talking about added another layer of that creative flexibility that I mentioned, but also just that authentic voice that I wanted to share with others. Number 4, it keeps me accountable to my spiritual journey. So when I started this spiritual business, a big part of it was immersing myself in my spiritual journey in a way that reflects back to me what I need to work on, what I need to heal, and then I go through that process and then share with others. It's like this beautiful symbiosis, this nice symmetry of give and take, and it allows me to really be present with myself in my journey of growth, because I would attract clients that were going through similar things that I was going through, and I would be able to see things from a different perspective, or get out of my head and my personal story for a second to be there for someone else, but then take our exchange that we had and apply those gems, that wisdom that I even picked up from my client, be able to apply that to my path forward. So I loved the accountability that I would step into by being in a spiritual field day in, day out. Number 5, I love my spiritual business because it keeps me compassionate and very empathetic in a world that can be very, very harsh. So, because there's so many things that are happening that can get you so beyond frustrated and sad and heavy and drained and discouraged, despondent, all of these things, because there's a surplus of things to keep you feeling crappy, I wanted to make sure that my work was something that was uplifting, something that allowed me to see the beauty, the love, the connection between us all, the similarities between us all. And then it reminds me that we're not just people behind a screen judging each other, or people, behind these weapons to just tear each other down. But instead, we're humans that grew up in homes that just maybe lacked in certain ways, and we were still trying to figure it out as best as we could. And with the guidance of someone who could see things from a different perspective, we were able to find our peace and our empowerment again. So, being able to have this business, have this spiritual business, is something that really, really helps me remain connected, remain very, very aware of the person across the way that may have an attitude or may seem like they're standoffish or disgruntled. But it helps me remember that there's a deeper story behind what someone is going through. So I'm not just being reactive to whatever they may send my way. I think first about their human condition, and that really, really helps me in my everyday life. So I encourage you to start a business that helps you stay grounded. It helps you stay aware of others and present instead of being just so focused on the money behind it or what you have to gain. A spiritual business for me helps me stay aware of my true responsibility as a human on this planet, wanting to spread love, wanting my son to see these messages, wanting to see the connections that I built in a very true and genuine way so that it can, again, lead him forward to making really great decisions when it's time for him to build relationships when he's older. So spiritual business really, really does that for me. Number 6, I wanted to test my limits and really reprogram my idea of what it meant to make money. When I grew up, things that I would see, whether that's, in my home or through people I really admired, through TV, I just felt the hustle mentality, really, really day in, day out, staying long hours, working up the corporate ladder. That was the way to attain like this dream life, this wonderful paradise of accomplishment. That's what I, saw to be most valued. But I got older and started to see the burnout. Burnout was something that was not taught to me when I was younger, and how people would make so much money, work so many hours, and then not have time to nurture their marriage or sustain, deep connections with their kids or see other family members or friends, or maybe they wouldn't even celebrate their own birthday because they couldn't be given by another company or person. They couldn't be given permission to do so, to find pleasure in life, but they had so much money in the bank. I did not want to have that life. So for me, it was really important to test the limits, to see what else was possible, to flip it on its head in the way that I had been shown. And now you have YouTube, you're able to see creators build these, beautiful I travel from anywhere experiences. You see it on Instagram, and it can seem so second nature, and it wasn't second nature for me. Coming out of college, what was second nature to me is to get a job, and to really be thankful once you got it, and to do what it took to outshine people around you. That's what I was taught. That's what was second nature. So I wanted to test my limits, reprogram my beliefs, my limiting beliefs around financial gain and the exchange of time for money, all of those things that kept me small and kept me insecure in my money journey. And then through this, I'm able to gain like amazing wisdom that I share with my clients around money manifestation, because I teach money manifestation, financial manifestation, career manifestation, and it does not have to look the way in which you may have been told. Maybe you were lucky to have parents and a community around you that said, go do what you want, do what you love, and the money will come. But for a lot of us, we didn't have that experience. So I'm so happy that I really took that leap into a spiritual career, because it's gotten me to where I am now, where I live comfortably, doing what is my most exciting, experience, to be able to help others in a way that teaches them the value of all of the differences they have, all of the shame that they may have, how they can transmute it into power, how they can transmute it into the thing that serves them the most in their life. And to be able to do that every day is so much better than what I was doing. Number 7, this was my last one for this list. The reason why I chose to start my spiritual business, the biggest reason is I was called to do so. I was called to do so, and for me, like I said, I was raised Christian. I don't identify as Christian anymore, but I still hold a lot of themes, very close to my heart. And what I believe is that when something is downloaded within you, inspired within you, when God sends you the clear sign, when universe is calling out your name, when spirit is knocking at your door, however you want to phrase it, I was called to step into this path, and no matter which way I turned, the message was clear and it was direct. And I felt the more I resisted it, the more my day job at the time got more draining and just felt like I was going through the motions and not giving my best or doing my best, which made me feel guilt. It made me feel crappy because I don't want to be a crappy employee to someone else, but I just didn't know how to get back to my joy. I didn't know that. And again, in the community I was in, how I was raised, I didn't understand life coaching. I didn't, it wasn't even as big at that time, not to age myself, but it just wasn't. So now I'm able to see the shift that I had to take into trust and in my big leap of faith when I moved from the DC area to Los Angeles. But really just following that voice and saying, I don't know the details of how it's going to play out, but I know it's meant to play out, and staying the course and doing so with a joyful and open heart will give you so much power long term versus staying small to fit in a box or to fit into what you have been doing. You're telling yourself you're not deserving of growth, new opportunity, new experiences, and that stagnant energy, it's stifling and it can affect your health, your relationships that you have. I just didn't want that. So the call came. It wasn't instant that I just jumped to it, but over time, I would say probably a year of me feeling this strong energy. And then I started where I was. Maybe even, I think we started December 2015 with my first try into my spiritual business on my own, because I was doing readings before then. I was on a different platform, but I wanted to venture out and just do things myself and really go all in instead of having a full-time job that I'm giving all of my energy and then just doing readings as a hobby. I wanted to make that shift. So when I did that, and I spent the end of, so December 2015, all throughout the next year, just being open, continuing to look for those signs of confirmation, building out a plan, doing my scripting, my visualization, all the things that I teach, and really harnessing my confidence. And then that following year, 2017, is when I took the leap in April of 2017 to move to Los Angeles to pursue a full-time career of spiritual teachings through readings and coaching. And then I scaled from there 2019 into products, and then I have not looked back. I have just enjoyed this ride. So I hope this message hits someone who needs to hear it about entrepreneurship in general, finding what is authentic to you, being okay in the unknown, letting that stretch you, answering, your inner voice's desires and that call of something more, and then doing something that adds value in a way that is just so intrinsic and that gets you out of the mundane into something that excites you about the world again. Because I really feel that you are your best self when you are giving yourself the best. And you can't do that if you are just making yourself small to fit into someone else's dream. You deserve more than that, okay? Well, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, the conversation does not have to end here. You can find me on Instagram, and that's at Pretty Spirits Co. And that's Pretty Spirits with an S, Co. And then you can DM me. You can also visit prettyspirits.com and schedule a coaching session or a psychic reading with me. I would be happy to aid you in all the things. And then remember to like and subscribe to this channel and share this message with someone that you feel it can benefit. Until next time, bye.